right, let's move the mic over, chat. Good evening. It's time for Mega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. This is everyone. This is your draft league players' favorite draft league form. What's the meme? Like it's like your favorite. Well, it's your favorite drag queen's favorite drag queen. I don't know how that works for draft formats. I don't know. We'll say this is your favorite draft league player's favorite draft format, ORAS, where it all began, and we're back with Hoenn Khlazic. We watched ADV last week, which was super fire. Had a lot of good games there. We only have 7 this week because there was a forfeit. So that's a little unfortunate. So a little bit less in terms of gameplay this week. And then next week is Usum, which I'm not convinced I'm going to stream. Hello and welcome, ORAS fans. This is what everyone's here for, right? This is everyone's favorite part of Hoenn Khlazic. We get to watch ORAS. And the big difference, hold on, I'm going to put it in the when goons are streaming chat. The big difference from how Hoenn Khlazic last season, which was, I don't know, I think a lot of it is because ORAS is kind of only played in 8 player draft at this point anyway. It was 16 player draft before. We're now at 8 mon draft, or 8 player draft. So that's a little bit more kind of normal with what you expect to see in some of the more competitive ORAS stuff going on. So obviously, this is a league with a lot of strong players, but now we've also matched the format to the actual 8 mon format. So we have 7 games. We're going to start with the order the replays were posted in. So we're going to start with OG Albina, everyone's favorite streamer, everyone's favorite draft league player, against Mana, who Emerald Open, just complete domination. Won, I think, EO4, and then made the finals of the past EO5. So very, very good matchup here. Oh, and I don't know what Mana's experience in draft league is, strictly outside of the outside of ADV, but let's take a look at the matchup. This is a little bit different as well than ADV because we have team preview. That is another thing that's super important to keep in mind, is that team preview is the thing here in this draft. Hoenn, I hate when people don't use team order, because I use team order all the time, or draft order for my team all the time, and that's how I look to see what people brought. So Hoenn left the Swalot in. The Rotom Wash behind is interesting because there is an Excadrill on the other side, and that's usually a pretty good answer to that Pokemon, especially in a situation where there is a Hippowdon. Usually you would expect to see Sandrush in that situation, and Rotom Wash is a pretty good bring there. But Hoenn has kind of got Mana on that, and that Hippowdon and Togetic are the benches. So this has to be the Moldbreaker Excadrill, which can definitely just Earthquake past the Rotom Wash. So it looks like Hoenn is going to go maybe for defensive Mega Scizor as the answer to that Pokemon, and then check out offensively with Victini and the Garchomp. So interesting leave behind there for Hoenn, but definitely makes sense with that. And then Pokemon like Throw comes kind of out of the bottom tiers here, which is super nice into a Pokemon like Weavile. Even helps a little bit with the Excadrill, though. I would say the damage there can add up just a little bit over time. So let's get into the first battle. Hoenn leads off with the Mesprit versus the Roseride. Pretty good lead for Hoenn here. Who's banned Manaphy? That's Mana. So that's like ADV, like Emerald Open champion. Very, very well-known player there. More known, at least on this channel specifically, for playing an Emerald Open. So we both trade our hazards here. It looks like Mana's just going to try to get Chip on this Mesprit, get this Mesprit whittled down as much as possible. No Psychic move from Hoenn there, but I think that's probably fine. Because, yeah, we're just going to get Victinian. And, Blue Flare is, almost unguardable here in this spot. You could even have Psychic move to really pressure the Volcanion. Volcanion might just... I mean, there's no boots in this format, right? So Volcanion's ability to switch into Psychic move is very, very limited here. After Rock, so you definitely need to get Excadrill to spin that sooner rather than later, and especially with the Weavile in the back coming out here, or we're gonna go Gallade instead. Attack where they cannot defend. Yes, Looks like Owen goes for the... Uh-oh. Is this an aggro creep chat? Is it another aggro... Hey, aggro creeps work 49 out of every 50 times. Except for the 1 out of 50 times. They don't work. And we get our guy, DT ORAS Mechanics. Oh, you know what? Yeah, moving on. I always forget that this is the one good thing about Usum. Chat, I hate on Usum a lot, but like the immediate speed mechanic is the one thing I always forget about ORAS. Just like a little bit of a detail. So yeah, because of the speed tier, yeah. So Victini is obviously going to be faster. So you get the T-Wave off. T-Wave is obviously super important in this generation. The knockoff is Colbur Berry. So either way, I mean, this is pretty free for Owen to just go for the T-Wave because you're able to use the Colbur Berry to eat that knockoff, and now you've killed the Roserade, which is a decent hazard setter, especially if your team doesn't have a Defog Scizor. It's going to be super good. And now Victini just gets the Blue Flare. Oh yeah, shout out, by the way, this battle, the server almost restarted on the mid-battle. And knockoff is just going to kill. It looks like we're just going to be able to kill this anyway. So yeah, double Blue Flare after is going to be able to kill the Mega Gallade. So Victini's gotten so much value in this game. After those two knockoffs. Godtini, true. And now we get free Weavile. I mean, knockoff is super free there because, you know, it's just like obviously super free there. We get Mega Scizor in. We just go for Foul Play here. Interesting click. Though we lose our Weavile. We've lost so much capital here. I'm very confused. I'm kind of confused as what the end game is here for Mana's side. Like, we just sacked our... I can understand trading Gallade for Victini maybe, but it feels like Weavile... This matchup maybe just isn't that good. Honestly. It feels like we got Rocks up early, which is super nice. Prevented Volcanion from coming in on that early sequence against Victini. We haven't been able to find any way for Excadrill to spin, and now we've lost our Weavile, which was, I mean, albeit not great, but does have some like ability to ice spam a little bit, especially with the hazard up. So I assume we're trying to go for a Thundurus endgame here. Scizor's gone, and the fact that Scizor was so low as well. Now it had to the Weavile had to die for that to happen. Is that a red card? Thundurus? Wow. Okay. Chat. I mean, I appreciate a good red card when I see it, but out into the Garchomp is unfortunately diabolical work. And now we find a way to get Drillin, and this should be Mold Breaker. So here comes the Mold Breaker. This is going to be a good EQ here. This is going to get a kill. Yeah, good Mind Mesprit. But dude, shout out Craig the Throw. Owen got no nicknames, but he knows he has to respect the God Craig. Craig's got to lock in though. You got to hit those moves. Craig, look at that. 34, eat. Send that Thundurus back, and that Thundurus is basically now dead the rest of the battle, unless you like Choice Scarf. Shout out to the Roar mechanic, by the way. The Pokemon's basically down unless you're like Scarf, Rapid Spin or something. Garchomp's going to come in though, and I'm pretty sure just clean up this game with Earthquake. Excadrill comes out. You can just stay in, right? Like it should just, it's just Choice Scarf itself. Well, that's easy enough then. Easy game for OG Albina. This matchup feels like, looking at Mana's side, didn't feel very, very great. Though I feel like, I'm trying to think, because we ended up in a situation where we sacked like half our team super early when it feels like maybe we didn't need to. Like we traded hazards here, did a lot there. And like, I think it was like the Victini just found a way to get in. And we just didn't really have good counterplay for Victini off this lead, unfortunately, which I think is kind of the problem here. I don't know if there's a way, maybe we just lead something else to get around that. I'm not sure. That might be a lead Roserade problem. But I think Owen's matchup seemed super, super good. Victini was obviously super shice here in this battle in particular. All right, we got Pythons, the GOAT. We see Glalie showing up in ORAS. Another fan favorite of ADV Draft League. This team's benched. What team is benched? I hate when people don't do what I do. It makes me sad. Seismitoad. Oh, it's Mega Glalie too. Let's go. Yeah, Seismitoad and Skuntank are gone. Seismitoad, yeah, it doesn't really do a lot here. A lot of the Pokemon you might in theory think it checks, it doesn't do anything. Against why we got a Frillish here? Why did Zugu draft Frillish? What's going on? What's going on, Zugu? What are we cooking here? I can't believe Frillish is benched. Dude, the Glalie is gonna set up the spikes, or the Skarmory is gonna set up the spikes. You got a spin block. Oh, there's no spin block. There's no spinner. Okay, I guess Frillish has no use. Skuntank also doesn't seem that useful, and then Magneton is benched. Chat, I'm gonna be honest with you. I think Magneton's just unfortunately not good. I think dude, we drafted Skarmory. What else do you want? What do you want to trap with Magneton that's not Skarmory? And you took one of the two possible Skarmories off the board. Chat, I don't know what Magneton is for, because it's not good at doing anything else besides trapping. I mean, anyway, this is like a good top six team anyway, right? Like Landorus, Lopunny, Clefable, Skarm, Starmie, Kyurem. Like, this is just a powerful six that's always going to have high upside. Yeah, Langley is fire. I've seen it like a few times. I played against it in ORAS Cup like a couple years ago with my Zardwai Crest team. My opponent in brackets had that Pokemon on their team. But this looks like a good Garchomp Manaphy team. So let's see what we got cooking up. Starmie Trap could be interesting, yeah. We got big Mega Glalie. Is this Mega Glalie just going to play a regular Glalie? You got the return, big 51%. Shout out Natural Gift, by the way. Okay. All right, Zugu. I don't know. I don't know what we're cooking with that one. Ice Beam. We don't even... Oh, my God. Bruh, just Ice Punch here. What is this? Okay, so we bring in Lopunny, and we go for the raw Ice Beam. And a massive 46% to Garchomp. Let's go. Any freeze here? Okay, the only thing to do back is Toxic. Toxic's actually not too bad for us. We'll take that and go back into Landers, assuming Earthquake's coming out here. Ooh, but Python's able to pick off a pretty good double into Manaphy and goes for the Tail Glow. That looks to be Choice Scarf Landorus, the way that it's stated and just attacked there. And now in comes Kyurem on the Scald. Ooh, big crit, 62%. That's pretty big, but obviously the Manaphy's going to be threatened because this Draco is dropping, and you're not going to be able to stand and live that, right? No way. It gives free turn for Glalie. Glalie's going to have to take a lot of HP to guarantee this knockout, but Glalie's gotten decent value. It's ended up like removing the Skarmory, Revenge Guild to Kyurem. I mean, this Pokemon's putting in work, chat. Togekiss comes out pretty okay-ish answer to Lopunny with the Rocky Helmet. You're going to be able to get some chip on that, especially with the poison. Like, that's kind of like one of the easier ways to game plan against this Mega Lopunny, right? Is just like spam Rocky Helmet and Toxic, and it eventually will just die after it tries to come in and claim your whole team. Big Stone Edge miss here is a little unfortunate, though. I guess we are going to recover that HP off, so it's probably not the end of the world. And then Stone Edge comes out as Manaphy's going to be able to come in here and click a button. Oh, but it bluffed the Scarf. Interesting. So it looks like we kind of bluffed the Scarf by coming in on the Manaphy. Maybe, I mean, this Manaphy is obviously the way it's going to be played is very bulky. But like the way that we played it definitely kind of gave the Scarf aura. At least the aura and how we used it. But that's going to give us the opportunity to bring in Mega Glalie here and just click a return. Big damage. It's 40% to Starmie, forcing Starmie to attack into it. And now Raiku's going to have a good time here the rest of this battle. Mega Lopunny hard in on the Calm Mind. Going to put it into a position where it's going to be, I mean, you're kind of forced into Togekiss here, right? Encore, obviously, like Encore's, oh my god, I hate when I do that. We see the Ice Beam, Lopunny again. Encore's a move that's become very, very popular in Gen 9 due to like move distribution and stuff. But you're starting to see it at least be used a little bit more in these older generations. I mean, it's still like super useful, right? There's a lot of good setup to thwart here. And it's kind of hard to click a move. Into Rocky Helmet Togekiss with you being so low. And now we see Cosmic Power, Clefable, and this is definitely Unaware Clefable. I have to... Oh, it's not Unaware Clefable. Interesting. I would have expected this set to be Unaware Clefable. Shout out Togekiss, by the way. Double flinch on the Clefable, and that Pokemon is just straight up dead. And what could have been a dangerous threat is completely dealt with. 73% of the Landorus. Oh my god, Pythons. Come on, Pythons. We gotta be... Come on. What is this? This isn't Pythons. This is an ethical Pokemon. This is crazy. Double flinch and a dodge the Stone Edge. Truly some shameless Pokemon. Hey, we get those late game rock stuff though. At least that's good. Big rapid spin here from Zugu. As the lava plume comes out, no burn at least, so I guess that's a positive. But we're in a really, really bad position of Zugu because Raikou just gets to come out and click Thunderbolt here pretty freely. I don't like the crit if I'm Pythons, right? Because our Togekiss is so low. I'm pretty sure we just lost here. So despite all the hacks, I think Python's going to be able to pull this. Zugu's going to be able to pull this one out. The game did its best to screw over Zugu Royale, but in the end, Lopunny just proved to be too powerful. That's true. Too tough from Zugu and the Mega Lopunny here in ORAS. Still one of obviously the premier threats. I know that like people have like their own opinions on whether they think this Pokemon is good or not. Like there's a lot of like pretty evident counterplay to this Pokemon. But like it's still one of those Pokemon in this format that has so much inevitability. Oh, this is a classic, chat. This is a good one. I try my best to not like watch these games prior. Not that it is such like a huge improvement to my commentary to not know what the games are. And in some you might be able to argue it like makes it worse. This was a truly good game. We got Diggersby here, 8-12. Unfortunately, Kaz is a bot too and doesn't organize his Pokemon by draft order. So he's left Klefki and Kofag behind. Kofagrigus. Kofagrigus is interesting. I don't see a good use case for it. The Scrafty, there's a Mega Knight. I don't really like Scrafty here at all. It doesn't really wall anything. Matthias has left behind an Uxie, which might have been useful in this battle, and a Hariyama. Which Hariyama is okay into stuff like Greninja. But man, Hariyama has such a tough time against like so much of this team that it's a really hard justification to bring. This one I do know what happened. Let's see. Big Mega Venuli. This is a Pokemon that was super popular back when ORAS was in its like heyday. And now this is obviously 16 player draft, so it's going to be a lot more of the Megas are going to see a lot more usage. But Mega Venusaur was a very, very popular Mega at the time. So we got a double screen here set up on Matthias' side, but we're just going to go into Crobat here. So we're not really, like we set up double screens and are just taunting. Not really doing a lot here. You turning on the static guy, by the way, is crazy. I guess you have Lumberry. I mean, I guess that makes up for it. But like, I don't know if we want to lose our Lumberry on a static to the Zapdos. That doesn't feel like a good use of an item slot. We go for the substitute here. There is an Ice Punch from Kaz's side. So that was an odd play. I don't really know, honestly, what's going on from Matthias' side here a little bit. It feels like we're kind of waffling around like what it feels like we've like spent so many turns waffling and like just don't have a way to break Uxie on this team. Like nothing we've gone into can break this Pokemon yet. No, nothing on our team really can do it. I guess Diancie can try to push through it a little bit, but now we go into Big Diggersby, and it's time, chat. Big Swords Dance on the Diggersby. Shout out to the Lodge, the 7th best draft league in all of 2019. Kaz smells true. Kaz up with the light screen, goes for the agility, dodges the burn. Luckiest player alive. That's crazy. No wonder this guy was fucking max bid DPL at one point. Just fucking dodges the skull burn. And this is a wrap here. This is over. It's Lum. He sent me in his pace. Yeah, but that doesn't suit the agenda, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, and it's also not. It's Silk Scarf because I know the calcs. That's hella Silk Scarf Diggersby because I'm in his chat. Yeah, shout out Diggersby, by the way. Psychic Berry, true. Yeah, Diggersby though, yeah, big 6-0. I mean, I think like if you look at this matchup, I'm him. There's just like no, like Matthias just has had nothing offensively for Uxie, which like I don't even think is like a build problem. Much rather just like a, just like a draft issue. So we just waffle around the scarf, and I mean, Diggersby eventually was just gonna find a way to just like completely destroy this team. In theory, I think the Ferrothorn was a roll. It's a roll against some defensive sets, though. I think against the set that ended up bringing it wasn't a roll. So yeah, shout out Diggersby. Diggersby, though, the best Pokemon of all time. The guy who set up screens, set up behind screens was the guy who set up behind screens for no reason. Yeah, if you're gonna set up your screens, you probably should attack and deal damage to the Pokemon in front of you. I think is probably a good path to victory. So I think good work for Kaz for recognizing that you should set up an attack. All right, this is the next game I've watched. This one, Jake versus Diet Tight Jason, a classic game of Pokemon Draft League here. I have to bring up the matchups. I shouldn't get too ahead of myself here. Now that Kaz is in the chat, Usum is the week. What is the Usum board for this? I have my own copy of it, but I have to fix Usum, right? For next week, in theory, assuming I'm doing it. I forgot. I remember reading that in the chat somewhere, but let's take a look at this match. Let's go back to first turn. Jake has a nasty team. Like for ORAS, this is crazy work. Mega Gardevoir, Weavile, Keldeo in ORAS is gross. I also love Registeel. Like, I'm super about this Pokemon. Now, I like Registeel because I think it's pretty good into, like, Mega Guard and stuff. So, like, drafting Mega Guard and then taking Registeel may be, like, a little bit much. But, like, Registeel still has a lot of application in this format. Like, it's obviously not just Mega Guard or check. Mesprit is pretty good. Roserade is a great Pokemon to have on this team. A Water Breaker is super, super nice here. And then Rotom is a good spin blocker to enable the Roserade and the Donphan. It looks like we've left behind Rotom in this matchup as well as the Mesprit. Because Mesprit, to be honest, is really bad in this matchup. Torrentee, Mega Scizor, Crocodile, Tangrowth is a really, really good combination of Pokemon here. And then good hazard control. Obviously, like Spinner, Blastoise, Hazard Sacking, Scolipede, and Dusclops. And you got the OU with the Granbull Classic right here on the bill. Like these are two really, really well put together teams. I like both of these teams, I think, very much. I think I obviously prefer Jake's team because it's like Mega Gardevoir with Keldeo and ORAS is like pretty ridiculous. With Roserade, which is like a Pokemon I've loved to use a lot in ORAS and Usum. So I really like Jake's team, but I think Jason has like a super good team as well. So we're kind of both leading off with the same concept of like get hazards up and start pushing the initiative that way. Dusclops comes in as a spin blocker. Jason's left behind. He's left behind Blastoise. And Crocodile, interesting enough. I guess Crocodile struggles to really find its footing in this matchup, though, so that makes sense. We're just going to go for the Earthquake here as Dusclops comes out. Goes for the Will-O-Wisp. Keldeo obviously doesn't mind getting burned because it's only going to be attacking on the special side of things here. Hydro Pump comes out. Decent damage to Tangrowth, but Regenerator is going to be able to get all that HP back. So a very favorable turn trade, at least for Jake there. Definitely super okay with that. Shukaberry revealed to be the item on Registeel, so I assume that's for like a Crocodile like counter lure, I would imagine. Seems to be the most likely. And we see a T-Wave out come here onto the Scolipede, which is going to lower its effectiveness for a good majority of the battle. But it looks like Jake's just going to be able to pick this thing off with the Seismic Tosses anyway. And he's going to be able to get it without losing a bunch more HP on his Registeel, which could be useful the rest of the battle. We'll see. Heat Wave comes out, and this is where that Paralyze is super important, right? The fact that it happened. We do have the Lumberry chat to get out of this, which is good. Otherwise, that could have been almost game-ending for Jason to just have to kill this Registeel and take a Paralyze on the Torn while he's at it. Granbull comes out. Granbull, obviously, a pretty good answer to Weavile. Pretty consistent. Obviously, Icicle's Crash is going to do a lot, but that means that Weavile is going to have to come back in on 3 layers of spikes. Assuming that Dusclops is not able to. Oh my god, Jason is the most unlucky player in the world. And, I think that's just a Jake moment right there, right? Like, of course, a lucky Jake. But Dusclops is super important here, right? Like, if you look at the fact that like we tripped the Granbull a little bit and it's going to struggle to come back in again. But now like we've guaranteed to at least take 50 off this Weavile. And like there's still a Scizor in the back here. Scizor eventually will find a way to break through this team. We just need to break through the Donphan a little bit. Keldeo as well, but Keldeo is going to have to take 3 layers of hazards and the burn. It's at a point now where Scizor is like kind of getting into win territory, We just have to like get rid of Pokemon. This would have been one of the Pokemon you really want to get rid of because HP Fire is super important in that situation. Though we are going to get it, but it is Cobra Berry, so that makes sense there in terms of like why Jake is making that play. So it gets like the Paralyze. The miss is unfortunate, but kind of an example. Cobra Berry there saves that. It looks like we're going Dusclops here just to preserve our Torn because Torn is still good even when paralyzed. No Sludge Bomb is pretty, or no Poison is pretty important there. And then the Shadow Sneak is going to kill, which is big, as that's going to force Weavile to come in, take another layer of hazards. Obviously, the knockoff into the Icicle Crash will kill, so that's pretty free for Jake here. Going to have to take a Rocky Helmet to do that, but Jake's going to think a look at this opportunity, because this should be a spin here, right? Like, if you look at how low this Dusclops is, 50% after rocks in an attack, you should be able to force a rapid spin on this sequence. It's a pretty close calc, right? All things considered, but you are going to be able to pick up that Dusclops, which means you will get your rapid spin, which is so important here. But like, if you look at this, like where we've gone in this matchup, right? So we've got the hazards removed. Gardevoir has to come out, but the problem is Scizor is still full HP in the back, and Donphan is super weak. Like, we are in a position where Bullet Punch from Mega Scizor should have the opportunity to control the end game here pretty soon. We see a move out here, Regenerator on the Gardevoir, as Jason goes into Gramble, just sacks this off. Doesn't really need to do much, and we see no Mega Evolution from Jake there. Main reason to do that is to maintain the Regenerator, because once you get the kill, that the Scizor's just going to come out and try to kill you. Bullet Punch comes out. We don't see any Rocky Helmet or anything to chip this Scizor down. And now Jason's going to have to switch out here, right? Because Fire Fang is kind of obvious, or is like a pretty obvious coverage move to have here for the Scizor. And like, the ways that you lose this battle are if you lose access to your Scizor early. The other thing we have to keep in mind is like Keldeo is still very high HP. We might have been hoping to get that Pokemon out a little bit earlier as well to get chip on that. But I still think Scizor like should have the opportunity to win here. See a big Hidden Power come out, probably Hidden Power Fire, really protecting against that Scizor here. Very important to do that. While also covering the other Pokemon. Jake's just going to sack here. Jake's just going to sack his Gardevoir here because Gardevoir doesn't really do much the rest of the battle. Like, he's going to have to kind of sack... Like, if you think about this situation, he has to sack a Pokemon here anyway. If he goes Keldeo, we'll see how this plays out here, right? Like, you kind of have to sack a Pokemon. You kind of want Weavile for Tangrowth just in case. In theory, it is the most expendable Pokemon. And now you just go for Secret Sword. And that just does 52, right? So, like, that's a move you're just going to click in front of the Scizor and be content with anyway. And you get the 2 KO on the Tangrowth, which is super important. And now you're in a position where, I mean, we're super low, right? But this Scizor, is this Scizor even going to be able to pick up the kill with Bullet Punch? Not really. And that's going to put it 58% to 6%. That's not good. We go for the Bullet Punch just to get the kill. Now, obviously, we can't go for the Roost there. And this is going to put this in range of the Ice Shard. So, really close game here. I think Jason was like one turn of getting the Keldeo in. Like, the Keldeo needed to take just just a little bit more damage here, right, in this battle to make this game plan work for Scizor. Because you see how much power Scizor has in that battle. But Keldeo just never had a reason to come back in. Saved it at perfect HP. And that's going to be a big one for Jake. Really good battle. Probably the best battle of the week, I would say. At least in terms of how close the battle was. Obviously, the Diggersby sweep will be a fan favorite. All right, so we have Togo versus Gold Mason. We see more Landorus. Landorus I, once again, a Pokemon that has become very popular in ORAS, as in it has been unbanned in ORAS recently. It's kind of slotted into that middle of round 1 kind of vibe. I think a lot of people are still a Mega Gardevoir, a Landorus T, and Garchomp ahead of it. But it very much kind of slots into that next round of picks that you can expect to see. Clefable really good. And then we see one of the nice fun things about playing in these tours is you see some Pokemon like Mega Tyranitar show up. We got Mega Blastoise, which to be fair is very popular. Guess who lost their Black and White game on a Blast crit? Man, dude, Black and White is not treating anyone well tonight. I'll say that much. That format... I'll get my complaint out now. That format sucks. I know I quit Black and White OU at the time, right? That format troll is so troll. But I like Togo's team, right? Regular Scizor, Clefable, Latias. I don't know how I feel about Breloom. I feel like that Pokemon's kind of a scam. Um, Jolteon is interesting. It's a good speed option, but it's not even the fastest Pokemon in this matchup because we have Crobat, a classic here in ORAS. And this is a pretty good Mew team. Like Mew, Infernape, Crocodile, Mega Blastoise, super solid team. Registeel gives you a really good Fairy answer, which is pretty nice on this team. You have a few, but not very, very good ones. Let's get into the battle here. We see Make That Ground Shake like Tyranitar lead off against the Mew. And this is one of my biggest problems with Mew, as we see a low kick come out onto the Stealth Rock. One of my biggest problems I feel like with Mew in this generation is that it really struggles to get around Dark types because of Pursuit. You're forced into a lot of Colbur Berry sets. But luckily, against Tyranitar specifically, low kick is going to be super nice. So you lead low kick, deal a bunch of damage to Mega Tyranitar, and get your rocks up, which is super crucial. And now it looks like, this is just a lead Mew, so we're not even doing anything super crazy with this. And we get a taunt on Lottie, which is nice. It does look to at least be a little bit more offensive. And Ice Punch comes out. We're not dealing with damage on either side here, chat. Quillfish comes back in. Quillfish knows this is free now to come in, though. And Registeel comes out on the Lottie. Probably trying to get a Thunder Wave off here, as Mega Blastoise is going to come in looking to get this Rapid Spin off. But a very, very disciplined T-Wave, knowing that this Rapid Spin is very, very likely. We get a Hazard up. We get a Paralyze. And it looks like we're going to go into Mega T-Tar for free here. Get the Sand back up. Really trying to play that Sandstorm plus Hazard stack game against our opponent's team. Get the rocks back up. Little Paralyze again. That's the second time we've been paralyzed in a situation we might want to spin. And we're just going to Water Pulse anyway. We want to get this Mega out of here. The problem is the rocks and the sand are up now. And we have to sack the Blastoise. So that means rocks are up the rest of the game. And if we're able to get our Quillfish in at any point, that means spikes are going to start getting up too. Interesting turn. I think we're trying to bait here whether this is Scarf, get a little bit of information, because Crobat is such a free switch back in to that sequence in that scenario. Though Taunt Crobat is going to be able to prevent some spikes. They're kind of predicting that, I assume. Togo's just going to go for the Waterfall. At least get a little bit of chip. Obviously, the Roost is super free in this spot. But you can at least force some pretty predictable turns here, all things considered. And now a Waterfall is going to come out here on a Brave Bird, which is going to keep this Pokemon at super low HP and put Gold Mason in kind of an interesting spot. And this is going to open up Togo a free opportunity to T-Wave this Pokemon, which is super huge. Allow you to get a spike up without the taunt. The Paralyze comes through again. We've been paralyzed so many times. We go for the boom there. Brave Bird, free turn. This Pokemon is super chipped. We got 2 hazards up. And now Landers is going to go for the Rock Polish and try to go for game here. We see a Toxic, which will definitely limit this thing's opportunity to actually win this game. Psychic is going to come out and kill, so we get our first kill. Crocodile, I imagine, is the next Pokemon out here. I assume Focus Blast doesn't kill. And yeah, we're just going to go for the Earth Power to play it safe. Knockoff is going to knock off that Life Orb. So not really getting to go for game there. Just going to break through the Crobat and the Crocodile. We know the Mew is very much just a lead only set, so the only real win condition left is this Infernape. At least possible win condition this Infernape, and you can Mach Punch that. It reveals to be Life Orb, which is super, super crucial. If you're Roost here, you just go for it. We just like to go for the Surf anyway instead. And the one thing to be mindful of is it might take a little bit to break down this Registeel, but it is Curse Registeel, chat. I said we only had one win condition left. I lied. Curse Registeel. And an EV Classic as well. You see that Pokemon so much. Roar is going to be able to delay the inevitable for a little bit, right? And it looks like we're just going to start roaring to try to put as much hazard damage as we can on this Registeel to maybe enable something like, Superpower on Scizor to try to break through this Pokemon without boosts. So it looks like we're just spamming Iron Head here. Try to keep this Pokemon low, as now we start going for the Curse. So we wait for the first Curse to go for the Roar to send this Pokemon out. Iron Head obviously outspeeding, which means the Roar is coming, and now Mew gets back in. And now Mew is going to die here at some point, right? We see the Taunt come out. The Taunt here is kind of irrelevant. I guess it's enough to force a switch on the Ice Punch. I guess the switch on the Ice Punch is free, as we can just go for the Bullet Punch. The problem now is that we need to not be choice locked, and we need to superpower here, and we do superpower to get the kill. Perfect. So we've played that sequence, and what could have been very, very problematic at the end, but we're able to force enough hazard and surf damage on that Registeel to put it in range of superpower and not get into a position where we were cursed out of even attempting that play. So we got T-Row next against Miko. T-Row unfortunately had a rough one last week, chat. T-Row got a little bit roughed up by our good friend Imana and ADV. It was one of those games where it's like, it was a 6-0 that lasted like 110 turns that you kind of knew where it was going. Or it was a 5-0. A game you knew what was happening on like turn 20, but we played 90 more on the way out. We see another interesting Mega choice here. Mega Manectric comes out in this one. Mega Gallade on Miko's side. Do I still have the side? I do. So interesting one here. Landorus, Latios, Heatran, Blastoise. This is definitely a very, very classic kind of ORAS comp. Landorus, Latios is very, very powerful in this format. And then Heatran is just a very, very good offensive Pokemon as well. And then on Miko's side, Gallade, Hydreigon, Zapdos, Jirachi, just a super powerful kind of offensive and defensive core there. Blastoise looks strong here. Yeah, Blastoise has a lot that it can do. Unfortunately, it's ORAS, so it's going to probably just like spin and not do a lot. But oh my god, is that Roselia? What are we doing? Put the Roselia away. No one wants to see that. Ironhead comes out. Rocky Helmet Blastoise is going to be able to wall that Pokemon. And we go for the Toxic. Big dodge for the Zapdos, as Roselia is going to come back out on the Volt Switch. But that's just going to mean free Hydreigon, it looks like, instead. So Hydreigon maybe a little bit better of an opportunity as we just allow T-Row to get a free spike here. I'm not sure how I feel about that. A nice U-turn here into Blastoise is good for the Blastoise slot, obviously, because there's a second run of Rocky Helmet on that Pokemon and a spike is up. So that's going to be super important. We do get the Defog away, but Mega Manectric like can just spam attacks against this team. Obviously, there is Nidoqueen, which will do a really good job of holding that back. But if you ever get a Volt Switch play, right, like look at that, half HP gone on Mega Gallade. Super good turn, and now you get a free turn for Landorus to start causing some havoc. But responsible play, just get the rocks up. That's going to be super nice to put pressure on the Zapdos. Get a free Defog turn here. A free switch into Manectric on the Defog turn. As we go for the Hidden Power, we're just keeping protecting against that, that Nidoqueen, right? Like that's just going to be super important this entire battle. Roselia comes back out on the Moonblast. Going to allow the Florges to get healed back up a little bit, but Leech Seed going to keep Roselia high. So this is going to be this. I feel like we're in for another long one here. It feels like both of these teams are just going to try to force as many hazards as they can, see if they can pick up a piece along the way. This Zapdos is really, really crucial to at least this game plan. As we just stay in here. Don't even go for the Defog as we get up the third layer of spikes. And it looks like T-Row probably just accepting maybe a Roselia to go down here. A good scout there on the Dark Pulse to see what kind of set this might be. And now we're in a position where like Hyper Voice is really, really hard to switch into. Zapdos can obviously come in here, but a very, very smart Baton Pass is going to allow Manectric to come in and really pressure the Zapdos here into a position where it really doesn't want to stay in. It's got a Defog, right? But it costs so much HP to get that Defog off. And we get the Thunderbolt after, even with the Nidoqueen in the back. So a really, really, I wouldn't say aggressive play, but a good play by T-Row to kind of recognize that once that Zapdos is down, like hazards are going to be so important in this battle because it's going to limit now Gallade to even do anything in this battle. Jirachi's already in a world of hurt with the hazards, and it'll make it just that much easier to break the floor just down in the endgame as well. It allows you to be a little bit more reckless probably with the predicts on Nidoqueen, though I imagine that given that the Zapdos is gone, it's going to be pretty easy to just there is a forces, I guess, but with 3 hazards up, right? Like you feel pretty confident about just being able to go for Hidden Power Ice and just force Volt Switches every time. All right, we get Mega Gallade in here. Roselia, all right, I was shitting on Roselia for coming into this battle. This Roselia is kind of cooked here, getting up a bunch of hazards, like walled half the team. But it looks like Miko's going to try to go for game as best as possible here with Swords Dance Gallade. The problem is Shadow Sneak is definitely not doing 76. at +1 after the Intimidate. So we lose that Pokemon. Now we're in a position where it's got to be something like Choice Scarf, Hydreigon to pull that out. And now this is what I mean, is like we still are in this position where we have to get like really, we don't necessarily have to get aggressive with the Manectric, but like we know our opponent now is going to be forced to start going into Nidoqueen and not being able to make plays into like the combination of Zapdos plus Florges. But the problem is this Roselia is just owning this whole team right here. We got our second layer of spikes up. That's going to be huge. Really going to force this Nidoqueen to take a lot of damage. And I think we're at a point where Tiro is eventually going to win this game. I think at this point, this is starting to feel like his week 1, but he's on the other side of it this time. We're like, this Nidoqueen is going to take so much damage. We get the third layer of spike up. We just go for the Flash Cannon. We just go for the Leech Seed. Can we even break this Pokemon, chat? Are we even able to break the Roselia with the rest of Tiro? Like, is Tiro even able to have this Pokemon be broken? Crazy work here, by the way. I assume Leech Seed has to come out here. Yeah, you know the Synth is coming off. And now I literally think Roselia just wins the game the rest of the way. Big Sludge Bomb, 41% after the Leech Seed recovery. So it's about 48%, which means you will be able to solidly Synthesis eventually. And if you get a crit at any of these points, it's really, really dire for the Florges slot here. Though there will be some low rolls that I guess maybe make it so you can attack. But the thing is, you can't even attack here. Like, what are we doing? Like, can we even do anything? Like, not by a plant. I think Miko has kind of realized the writing is on the wall here, that Roselia kind of just wins the rest of the game. Shout out Rock Polish Gravity Landorus, by the way. That should just end this game. So it looks like Tiro's going to not give Roselia the kills like Roselia deserved for putting in probably the first ever good Roselia performance of all time, where just walled the whole team and just gave the kills to Landorus. The rich get richer is what the motto of this battle is. Crazy work by Tiro there. But that, you know, in a situation where Roselia just walled the whole team, let's just give a few kills to the Landers send us off. And as I said, we only have 7 games today because of the fact that there was a forfeit. So you have Austrian George versus J Scurf. This is the other Gardevoir Keldeo team. We have Skarmy Raikou on this one. Raikou is a Pokemon that has like become pretty popular recently in ORAS. I feel like I've been seeing that Pokemon a lot more. And then we see another Tornti Kieran Black team, more Bronzong and Starmie. I kind of like Amoonguss in ORAS sometimes. I'm not a big Kieran Black guy at all. I definitely don't like Aromatisse. So I'm maybe rooting for J Scurf a little bit more here. And we got Go to Tyrantrum, right? Like this Pokemon has to be good here. So Entei lead against Bronzong. Pretty good lead for J Scurf. Starmie's a decent switch in. And then I can switch in. But the problem is once you get burned, even by Life Orb, like by Life Orb Entei, right? You're forced into recover, and this is going to create a bunch of free turns. And we have no ground type. Now, Amoonguss is a pretty good switch in to Raikou, all things considered, right? Like, yeah, Volt Switch is going to do 20%. That's not really a lot. But we get the Entei back in, and it forces a Starmie back in. That's basically 12% on the last exchange, right? You get burned, then you're in a little bit of trouble again, right? Recover comes back out as, what are we doing? J Scurf's just going to stay in, go for the bite. We're clicking bite now in the big 2025. So I guess that's what you got to do sometimes, bite Entei. I mean, that aggressive play really works, right? Because now Starmie can't come in on the Sacred Fire from this Pokemon anymore. So if you ever get a position where you Volt Switch into Entei, you pick up a kill now every time. It looks like Raikou comes in, it gets into the Bronzong. We go for the Volt Switch. I think Entei here makes sense. You got to get rocks up if you're George, right? Like, I don't know what else you're going to do. And in comes the Sacred Fire. Oh, my God. Sacred Fire miss? Wow. Bro, all of that work to set up that kill to get Sacred Fire missed is actually nasty work. I might have crashed out immediately upon seeing that. That's crazy. Now, interesting here, if you have extra sensory, you can probably go for it. But just a disciplined Volt Switch. No reason to complicate things. Go into Gardevoir. Gardevoir is pretty hard to guard against here. Go for the Will-O-Wisp. Miss. Okay. Goodbye half of our Gardevoir HP. And I guess goodbye the rest of it, because we're going to get poisoned and just lose our Pokemon. And now we're going to be able to lose the berry, but Now Mega Gardevoir is dead, and we're in so much trouble now. The Starmie is still alive. Okay, I guess we'll just miss every move. Yeah, shout out. I mean, I guess J-Skirt just shouldn't play Pokemon today. That's tough. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what I can even say at this point, right? Is there even any value to the commentary? Like, I guess J-Skirt should just learn to hit his moves. And, like, I guess that would have been a good opportunity to win the game. Hey, we still got Dragon Dance Tyrantrum here. Like, DD into Crunch is going to kill. This Pokemon's pretty strong here. Like, this is probably Choice Scarf, Kyurem, so that's not a problem anymore. But this could have been problematic, right? Yeah, it's just super unfortunate. I mean, you're always going to have these games, right, where just, like, everything that could go wrong, that needs to find a way to go wrong, just will. And, like, we still have, like, full Mega Metacham that hasn't even come out and, like, been able to impact this game. Amogus is still able to rock up and kind of own this battle as well. Keep Raikou in check. And now we just get to Spore the Nidoking. Like, yeah, it's just, unfortunately, it's just one of those games, I think, for J-Scarf where maybe, like, if we get the hit on the Starmie and are able to kill it, breaks one of the pieces, we're able to hit a few more of our moves in the middle, then it's going to be a little bit better for us. But alas, that is the game, and that is the end of the stream, which is great because Dell is about to play his one last ride battle and call. I can't believe they waited for me to be done stream. That's so kind of them. We get to watch that game. But that is the end of today's ORAS stream. I will probably stream Usum. I know I joked that I'm not going to stream Usum because I don't like Usum. But we will probably be streaming Usum next week. I don't have a video for this Saturday. Considering some scheduling with OLR. Just not going to be able to get out the video on Saturday. So OLR Battle 1 will be next week, which means we'll do maybe 2 streams. I want to do OLR streaming as well. For some of the battles when the time comes, but it sounds like we're probably going to get Usum content on this channel for the first time in a while next week. So thanks everyone for tuning in. Hope you guys enjoyed the stream. Like the stream if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already. We'll see you all next time. Hey, and as always, have a wonderful day.